What's going on, guys? I am Banker, and today on Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube, we are going to discuss a little something that we get asked a lot, and that is what really is the difference between the handling and the driving characteristics of the 9 wides to the 14 wides and everything in between. So we've got Lawson's King Ranch hunk of garbage behind me, and it's the only truck we have around here that can fit 9 wides all the way to 14 wides. So I'm gonna swap 4 different sets of wheels and tires on this damn thing for you, and we're gonna drive each one and see what the difference really is. So I have a lot to do, let's get into it. All right, guys, so we're gonna start on the big end of the spectrum here, since Lawson's got these big fat 24x14 Archon Caesars on here. So remember, keep in mind, all of these different tire setups are gonna have, or all these different wheel setups are gonna have different tires, because all we're really focusing on is going to be the offset of the wheel, the width. So just keep that in mind. This isn't a tire review, this is just a width review. So most important thing, the reason we buy 14 wide is for the poke, right? So on the old 6.7 power stroke here, we got, a solid 6 inches outside the fender. Highly illegal in most states, and we'll see how well this truck does turning these bad boys. All right, guys, we're just gotta clear out all the codes and the engine lights and warnings. Get rid of those. So first things first, there we go. 3/4 turn of the steering wheel with the 14 wides. Gotta pay to play, right? It's a sacrifice we're willing to make as our fenders and our tread. So now, obviously the biggest downfall of having the 14 wides is going to be the turning radius, right? You're gonna, unless you're lifted enough to fit 14 wides, you're gonna have a diminished turning radius because the wheels are so wide, you're gonna start rubbing the fenders, as is the case with this stock height Super Duty. The other thing is he just replaced wheel bearings in this, because the added stress of the wider width wheels will deteriorate things like ball joints and wheel bearings faster. Not immediately, not quickly. This thing's got 160,000 miles on it. It's about due for wheel bearings anyway. It just happened to have wide wheels on it the whole time. So it's not that it makes them go bad immediately. It's just, it is going to accelerate it. You know, it's the same thing if you have spacers on, if you have anything where it puts the weight on the outside of that that mounting point. I mean, as far as driving straight, I mean, there's a lot of contact patch there on the pavement, so it doesn't really wander or anything. It just kind of rolls in a straight line like a steamroller. So there you go, one benefit, having wider wheels, other than looking cool as. So I mean, I'd say overall, truck drives great, right? Just the nuances of driving a wide truck. So we're gonna go back and swap on some 12 wides and see if that changes anything. All right, guys, we got the second setup on, and I remembered my sunglasses this time, so I'm not squinting. These are gonna be 20x12 chrome vision rockers on this bad boy, and for comparison, the 14 wides we know were what, 6 inches outside the fender. These little bad boys are, let's see here, 4.5? I'm gonna call it 4.5 inches outside the fender. So not quite as aggressive, still pretty wide. And if it didn't have such a small tire on it, I would still expect it to rub. But we're gonna take this thing for a drive and see how much different this is than the 14 wides. All right, guys, I already cleared out all the codes this time, so we're ready to go. And like I said, this got tiny little baby tires on it, so I do know this is gonna clear on this truck, but generally speaking, 12 wides on your average truck will have some sort of rubbing, just due to the width. You know, like we said, it's 4.5 inches outside the fender. All right, so, I mean, to be honest, it's not much of a different feel than the 14 wides were. You can definitely tell that it's a smaller, lighter setup, because I can turn much easier now. The truck was definitely working it with the 14 wides and 35s on here, but 12 wides and 33s, significantly lighter setup and a very, very heavy duty truck. So this kind of setup, I would say, is probably the ideal setup for, you know, daily driving, something you still want to look cool in. You know, this thing, you could still go to a meet on the weekend and not not feel out of place, but still drive it to work every day with minimal issue, even if you weren't on a Super Duty. You know, it's got a little bit of poke to where, you know, unless the laws are extremely strict where you are, probably won't hassle you too much because it's not too crazy. Just kind of an average look, a clean look, a nice, enough poke to where, you know, it's not crazy. Still handles decent, not too much stress on the truck. Still more stress than stock, but not too much. And it rides nice. As much as you can say for a Super Duty, as I watch the camera doing this. Overall, like I said, I think 12 wides is kind of the best in-between setup for something that looks good, rides good, doesn't rub too bad. So we'll go back, throw the 10 wides on, and I'm going to apologize now because it's going to look like this thing is on rollerblade wheels. But hey, we got to work with what we got to work with. So we'll throw those on and take that one for a spin. All right, guys, we got the 10 wides on here. These are going to be some 20 by 10 TIS 553 BMs. That's black and milled, not the other BM. So these are going to be on some 33 12.5s. And again, this review has nothing to do with the tires, but you'll notice that because it's a 10 wide on a 12.5, we got some sidewall here, and that's going to affect our overall width. And that's something you need to take into consideration when you're getting a narrower wheel like this, is the tire that you're putting on it, and that's actually going to, you know, go out further than the wheel. So even though the wheel may only stick out, you know, in this case, an inch or two, the tire is going to add another 1.5 inches or so of width on there. And to be exact, these are 3.5 inches outside the fender. So only an inch less than the 12 wides we just did. But again, it's because it's still a 12.5 tire on here. If we go down to the wheel, you're talking only maybe 2.25 outside the fender is where the wheel is going to be. So you could easily throw a narrower tire on here, you know, some sort of metric equivalent to be a 33 11.5, and not be quite so far outside. But I know they're small, I know they look tiny on this truck. This is going to be more of your 1500 setup, but let's take this thing for a ride and see how she does with the 10 wides. All right, so obviously we got full turning radius. These are tiny, tiny little wheels. Just little guys for this F-150 or F250 today. She's definitely a little floaty, not terrible. It's not as cool looking in the mirror. You know, you got your fender flare and your tires, kind of all that's there. Especially in the back where the fenders are straight, not like the front where they dive in. Definitely gives you the illusion of a lot more poke on the front. That's why we measure the front. The biggest thing I'm noticing is there's a lot more float to the truck. I'm actually moving the steering wheel to try and keep it going. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, just the 12.5 on a 10 wide. Like I said, it's pretty standard, right? You got plenty of protection on the wheel, but it definitely gives you more float than a straight up sidewall, more of a show style wheel. No, I've never really been a fan of the 10 wides. We do sell a lot of them. It's kind of the keep your truck clean look, to be honest. It's you know, you can get a showy designed wheel, you know, a cool looking wheel, throw a little bit narrower tire on it, and have something a little flashy, but doesn't throw stuff up the side of the truck like a 12 wide does. So I think that's why they're more popular. You know, I think it's one of those things where once you hit the age of maturity, which is, you know, like 25 for some people, or 65 if you're any of us, maybe, we'll see. But it's more of the businessman's show wheel, show setup. Cool looking truck. You can pull up to the office in this and be proud that you got 10 wides. Whatever. It's more practical, right? Sometimes you need to be more practical. It's a sad day when it happens, when you realize it, but sometimes it's necessary. So we got one more setup left. That's 9 wides. I'm not looking too forward to it. It's kind of like the bigger wheel look, but you guys want to see it, so we're gonna go back to the shop, throw some 9 wides on this bad boy, and take her for a ride. All right, guys, we got the final set on here, and this video took so long that I'm not even wearing my sunglasses anymore because the sun's actually setting. But these are gonna be some 20x9 plus 0 Anthem Avengers. Normally these would have a center cap, but I'm really lazy and I just want to keep using the same spike lug nuts. And yeah, anyway, ignore that. And then we got it on a 33 12.5. So you'll notice because it's a 33 12.5 on a 9 wide, we've got a ton of sidewall yet again. So that is gonna, you know, offset the offset of how far the wheel actually sticks out, because the wheel itself is actually about an inch inside of the fender. Now with the tire on there, we got a whopping, inch and 3/8 roughly outside with the side lug here. So way further inside, obviously makes the truck kind of a little taller, a little narrower. So we'll take this for a ride and see how that goes. Whee! Again, as expected, we got significant amount of turning radius. Oh my God! I barely moved 10 feet in the damn seat. All right. Oof. She's definitely floaty. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of tire there and not a lot of air pressure. Probably should have put more air pressure in these tires. Whoops. Obviously, the steering is, this is basically a stock setup, let's be honest. So, you know, this is, I always think of this as like the farm truck or like the work truck, the construction guy that needs new wheels because he beat up the old ones too much and it needed new tires anyway, and you got a little bit of money to spend before the end of the year so you don't have to pay taxes. But you don't want your wheels sticking way outside the fenders like them damn kids do. So you get yourself some 9 wides because they fill out, you know, the wheel well. They look a little bit better than stock wheels. Keep, you know, you get a little bit of poke on the tire, but nothing that's gonna throw stuff up and down the sides of the truck, because let's face it, you got better things to do than clean your truck all the time. So that's my take on 9 wides. It honestly, it really is just like a stock feeling truck. It's that thing where you don't want to do too much to the truck. Maybe it's a lease, maybe you just don't want to do a whole lot, but make it look a little bit better, because I mean, stock wheels just aren't the move. They're very, very basic, especially the newer trucks. They're trying to make these things look cool, but help fuel efficiency at the same time, and you just look like you have some Tesla aero discs on a truck. So 9 wides are a good way to remedy that look. Or you got an older truck like this with some beat up, crappy looking pitted chrome wheels, or the anodizing is falling off and they leak at the bead. Again, a set of 9 wides fixes that problem real easy. And it doesn't really change the ride, it doesn't change the handling of the truck at all. So if that's what you're looking for, 9 wides are kind of the move. I mean, you look in the mirrors, can't even see the tires. They're under there, doing what they do, just like they would have if it was stock. But at least it's not stock, and that's the most important thing. All right, guys, so there you have it. 4 different setups, 9 wides all the way to 14 wides. You know, we got our Instagram bad boys over here, our modestly aggressive 12 wides, our cool dad 10 wides, and our anything better than stocks 9 wides. So any of these wheels could be perfect for whoever, but like we talked about in the video, I don't know, the 12 wides just work for me. It's the width, but not too wide. You can get a little bit showy, but still be able to drive it. You know, it's all down to you. So customoffsets.com, pick out your set of wheels and tires, and I'll see you on the next one.